And then let me give you a little philosophy that helped turn my life around. For your notes, here it is. It's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens happens to about everybody. No different. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event, a happening. And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, but rather it's what you do that changes everything. So that's a key phrase. It's not what happens, it's what you do. What happens is about the same. You might put that in parentheses here. Same. What people do, that's what's different. Anything can happen, right? Everything can happen. I've heard all the stories. I've been one of the stories. Hey, we could all tell stories all night long, right? Happenings. Anything can happen. Have you heard of Murphy's Laws? Anybody here heard of Murphy's Laws? Okay, most of you have. Murph had these laws. One of them was, if anything can go wrong, it will. That's one of Murphy's Laws. He was not one of the great positive speakers of the day. But anyway, it's still true though, right? Anything can go wrong, everything can go wrong. For sure. I've fallen out of the sky so many times. Once to the tune of a couple of million. Devastating. Took me a while to survive that one. Now, it wasn't all that much, but it was all I had. Right? I mean, that's when it's much, right? When it's all you got. If you got 3, 2 go, you got 1 left, you ain't looking that bad. But when it all goes, has anybody been there when it all went? Anybody? Come on, the rest of you liars. Go ahead. Hey, we've all been there, right? When it all went. Of course, it used to be a long time ago, right? When you ran out of money, got to 0, you were all through. Heck, now you can whistle right on by 0, right? I mean, they will bury you. That's what they will do. But see, those are the happenings, right? Everything can happen. Anything can happen. But it's not the happenings. It's what you do about it. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Come on. Everybody's had their share. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor. Everybody has them. The difference is what you do about it. It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather, and I discovered it rains on the rich. So see, that won't help. 2 men wake up one morning, there's a rainstorm on. One of them looks out his window, sees the rainstorm, and he says, wow, what a storm. With weather like this, they can't expect you to go out and make sales. He stays home. Same morning, the other guy looks out his window, sees the same storm, says, wow, what a storm. But he says, you know what, with weather like this, what a great day to go out and make sales. Most everybody will probably be home, especially the sales. See, that's the difference in how your life works out. It's not what happens, it's what you do. So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? Good question. What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Look at the last 5. Because the next 5 are going to be like the last 5 unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all. Or change a little, or change something, or don't change. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life. What can you do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Good question. What can you do with economic chaos, massive disappointment? What can you do with a broken heart? What can you do when it won't work? Good question. Now here's why money is an easy measure. It's easy to count. Let's count. See, there's nothing better than the truth. You don't need to fool with the truth. It is so dynamic in uncovering the errors of our ways and helping us to set up new disciplines to change it all, starting today, starting overnight, starting anytime. Now, you could wait to start a plan for a couple of years, but why not do it now? some people have to wrestle with, and I had a few questions on, is it okay to strive to be rich? Is it okay to want to be wealthy? Is it okay to go for it? I had to come to grips with that. Some people say, well, it'd be better to renounce all worldly goods and just live a very poverty, spiritual life. And that's one concept. I've got another concept. Try this on for size. If you could do better, should you? That's an interesting concept to consider. Why would you leave the biggest share of your life unexplored in terms of personal development and what that might have achieved, either in the marketplace or at home as a father? Someone says, well, I'm not going for being rich. I don't think that's really the healthy thing to do. So everybody has to wrestle with that, and I understand that. But I think one conclusion we could come to, with a good, simple, practical plan, there's no reason why you can't accumulate the resources to be financially independent. Lydia Colon invests $1 in her enterprise, selling a product she believed in. Here was her first investment, desperation. She says, my kids are hungry, I got to make this work. If this doesn't work, what will I do? That's called great incentive. My friend Bill Bailey went to Chicago as a teenager after he got out of high school. And the first job he got was night janitor. Someone says, Bill, why would you settle for night janitor? He said, malnutrition. Right? You work at whatever you can possibly get when you get hungry. Right? You go to work somewhere. Night janitor, don't matter where it is. Now he's rich and, he's financially independent, but first job, night janitor. Now here's the next investment she made. Determination. I will find someone. First she said, I must find someone. Desperation. Second, she said, I will find someone before this first day is over. Sure enough, she found someone. She said, if it works once, it'll work again. But the next person said no. Next person said no. Now what must you invest? Courage. Courage is more valuable than money. If you've only got $1 and a lot of courage, I'm telling you, you've got a good future ahead of you. Courage in spite of. Humans can do the most incredible things, no matter what happens. Tell us about it. Haven't we heard the stories? It's humans. You can't sell humans short. Courage. In spite of, not because of, but in spite of. Now, once she's sold 3 or 4 and gotten going, here's what now takes over. Ambition. Wow, if I can sell 3, I can sell 33. If I can sell 33, I can sell 103. Wow, now she's now dazzled by her own dreams of the future. Try this one on for size. Faith. Now she begins to believe, I've got a good product. This is probably a good company. And she then starts to believe in herself. Lydia. Single mother, 2 kids, no job. My gosh, I'm gonna pull it off. Her self-esteem starts to soar. These are investments that are unmatched. Money can't touch it. What if you had $1 million and no courage? You'd be poor. You wouldn't be rich. Now here's the next one. It's the reason why she's a millionaire today. Ingenuity. Putting your brains to work. Probably up until now, you've put about 1/10 of your brain power to work. What if you employed the other 9/10? You can't believe what can happen. Humans can come up with the most intriguing things to do. Ingenuity. What's ingenuity worth? A fortune. It's more valuable than money. All you need is $1 and plenty of ingenuity. Figuring out a way to make it work, make it work, make it work. Next, heart and soul. I mean, what's a substitute for heart and soul? It ain't money. Money can't buy heart and soul. And heart and soul is more valuable than $1 million. $1 million without heart and soul, you have no life. You are ineffective. But heart and soul is like magic. It's what we call the unseen magic that moves people. Moves people to buy, moves people to make decisions, moves people to act, moves people to respond. Heart and soul. Next, personality. You've just got to spruce up and sharpen up your own personality. You've got plenty of personality. Just get it developed to where it's effective every day. It's effective no matter who you talk to, whether it's a child or whether it's a business person, whether it's a rich person, poor person. A unique personality that is at home anywhere. Here's the ultimate investment, charisma. Ultimate sophistication, charisma, with a touch of humility. All of that list is more valuable than money. With $1 and the list I just gave you, the world is yours. I mean, it belongs to you. whatever piece of it you desire, whatever development you wish for your life. Capital, there is some kind of capital and there is some kind of capital. But here's what you can do with $1 and the rest of this investment of yourself and your person. You can secure your fortune. Key phrase, you lack not the resources. You don't lack the mental resources. You don't lack the financial resources. People have asked me for the last 24 years, how do you develop an above average income? And the answer is, become an above average person. Develop an above average handshake. Some people want to be successful, they don't even work on their handshake. As easy as that would be to start on. They let it slide, they don't understand. Develop an above average smile. Develop an above average excitement. Develop an above average interest in other people. Develop an above average intensity to win. See, that'll change everything. Probably one of the most frustrating experiences in life is looking for an above average job with above average pay without becoming an above average person. It's called frustration. And Mr. Shoaff gave me probably the greatest clue he gave me when I first met him. He said, Jim, if you want to be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. He said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Then Mr. Shoaff gave me probably one of the most important clues among so many things he taught me, but this was in those early days. Mr. Shoaff was very kind, but he was also very abrupt. And he had these interesting questions to ask. I'm giving him a little rundown one day on how things hadn't worked out for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, I've got the answer for you if you will listen carefully. And listen carefully I did that day and for the next 5 years. If somebody's wealthy and happy, you gotta listen. He said, Jim, I've only known you a short time. But he said, it's already my honest opinion that for things to change for you, you've got to change. That wasn't quite the answer I was looking for. But that's the answer he gave me, and I pass it along to you on this warm summer evening in Anaheim, California, 1981. For things to change for you, you've got to change. Otherwise, it isn't going to change. Before I met Mr. Shoaff, I used to say, I sure hope things will change. That seemed to be my only hope. If it isn't going to change, I'm in serious trouble. And then I discovered it isn't going to change, so I'm in serious trouble. See, I can tell you what the 80s are going to be like. You have dropped into the right place. I did a seminar one time for Standard Oil executives and management in Honolulu. And we're having a conference one day on this big conference table. And one of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, you know some fairly important people halfway around the world. What do you think the 80s are going to be like? I said, gentlemen, I do know the right people. I can tell you. So they all listened very carefully. And I said, gentlemen, based on my wide experience, I can really honestly say to you, in my opinion, in the 80s, it's going to be about like it's always been. Aren't you glad you came? That's inside. I don't pass that around just everywhere. Now, of course, I said that to make a point, but I also said it because it's accurate. It's going to be about like it's always been. It isn't going to change. The tide comes in and then what? It goes out. For 6,500 years that we know of, recorded history, and probably long before that. So it is not going to change. It gets light and then what? It turns dark. 6,500 years. See, it's not likely to change. And we're not to be startled by that. And if the sun goes down, the guy says, what's happened? What's happened? It means he hasn't been here long, I guess, right? It always goes down about this time. The guy says, well, I don't like that arrangement. Well, you got to talk to somebody besides me, right? It gets light, then it turns dark. In rotation, the next season after fall is what? Winter. Pray tell, how often does winter follow fall? Every year regularly for the last 6,500 that we know of. See, it is not going to change. Now, some winters are long, and some are short, and some are hard, and some are easy, but they always come right after falls. It isn't going to change. Sometimes you can figure it out, sometimes there's no way to figure it out. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it gets in a knot. Sometimes it sails along. Sometimes it gets in reverse. See, that's not going to change. The last 6,000 years reads like this. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's how it reads. It isn't going to change. The man says, well, if it isn't going to change, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change. And whether I'm talking to high school kids or business executives, my message is always the same. And it goes like this. The only way it gets better for you is when you get better. Let me give you the 4 major lessons in life to learn. Here's 4 majors. It's good to study the majors. In our weekend seminar we teach. Some people don't do well because they major in minor things. You've got to be on the lookout. At the end of every week, end of every month, you've got to check, make sure you're not spending major time on minor things. We go through that whole series. Majors and minors. Now, let me give you 2 phrases before we get to the 4 majors. This will set it up and you'll see where I'm going. 2 key phrases for your notes. Here's the first one. Life and business is like the changing seasons. That's the first phrase. Life and business is like the changing seasons. One of the best ways to describe life, it's like the seasons. Frank Sinatra sings, life is like the seasons. Now here's the second phrase. Very important. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. And see, that's how life gets better for you, not by chance, but by change. Now, here's the 4 major lessons in life to learn. I've got my first book finished. Came out a couple of weeks ago. This is in it. The 4 major lessons in life to learn. Here they are. Number 1, learn how to handle the winters. That's lesson 1. They come right after falls with regularity. Some are long and some are short and some are hard and some are easy, but they keep coming. You must learn to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn to handle difficulty. It comes right after opportunity. You must learn to handle recessions. They always follow progressions. For the last 6,000. See, it isn't going to change. The lesson you must learn is how to handle it. And there's all kinds of winters, right? The winter when you can't figure it out. The winter when it all goes smash. The winter when it turns belly up. The winter when it won't work, when you've run out of money and you've got a broken heart. See, those are winter times. There's all kinds. Economic winters, social winters, personal winters. When your heart is smashed in 1,000 pieces and the nights are unusually long, your prayers seem to go no higher than your head. It's wintertime. Barbra Streisand sings, it used to be so natural to talk about forever, but used to be's don't count anymore. They just lay on the floor till we sweep them away. You don't sing me love songs, and you don't say you need me, and you don't bring me flowers anymore. A song of winter. But see, the disappointments come. Those are normal. That's part of life. But the question is, how do you handle it? How do you handle the coming winters and the disappointments and the downtimes? Well, you can't get rid of January by tearing it off the calendar. But here's what you can do. You can get stronger, you can get wiser, and you can get better. The winters won't change, but you can. And that's how life changes for you. See, before I understood when it was winter, I used to wish it was summer. I didn't understand. When it was hard, I used to wish it was easy. I didn't know. And then Mr. Schoaf gave me a part of his very unique philosophy when he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. See, that triggered my whole life change. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. That's the key. So that's lesson 1, learn how to handle the winters. Here's lesson 2. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. That's the second one. Spring is called opportunity. And spring follows winter. What a great place for it. If you were going to put it somewhere, that'd be the place to put it, right after winter. And pray tell, how often does spring follow winter? Every year with regularity, 6,000. You can almost count on it. See, opportunity always comes. Days follow nights. Isn't that terrific? Opportunity follows difficulty. But here's what you must learn to do. Underline these 2 words in that key phrase. Take advantage. Underline those 2. You must learn to take advantage of the spring. See, just because spring rolls around is no sign you're going to look good come fall. You gotta do something with it. In fact, you have to get good at one of two things in life. Planting in the spring or begging in the fall. Or get somebody to do it for you. See, those are about the only alternatives. Now here's what else you must do. Take advantage of the springs quickly, because there's only a few. Just a handful of springs have been handed to each of us. They don't come forever. Life is fairly brief. So you got to read every book you can get your hands on what to do with your springs while they're here. And take advantage, they soon run out. The Beatles wrote, "Life is so short." And for John Lennon, it was extra short. But life is brief. Elton John sings, "She lived her life like a candle in the wind." It's brief. So whatever you're going to do with your life, you got to get at it. Don't just let the springs pass. Some of the great fortunes of the world were made, what? After someone turned 50, 60. Because now they've got all this experience. Now when an idea comes, they invest 50 years. They invest 60 years in this idea, and it explodes into fortune. So as maturity comes along, what a great time now to come up with good ideas, because now you can maximize their possibilities because of your maturity and what you already know. So be eager to grasp that next idea, because it could explode your health, explode your life. It could start a whole new realm of future for you at dimensions you never even thought of, the next idea, the next couple of ideas. So be eager to learn, no matter how rich you are, how healthy you are, where you are. So no matter where you are, be eager for that next idea. Some of you have been teaching like I have for years and years and years, but be ready for the next idea, because it could explode now your teaching career. It could add new dimensions because of where you are and because of your age and because of your maturity and because of whatever. The next effort you make to get something, no telling what that may add in terms of multiplication in your life and your ability to affect the lives of other people. Amazing. Here's what also I'd ask you to do. Argue later with all the stuff I'm going to cover. Wish we had time to debate every issue, because a lot of this stuff's up for debate. Nobody knows that better than me. And I've been doing my best all these years to debate, my point of view, as well as to listen from the other point of view. But, I would ask you to argue later, because we don't have time to open up discussion for every point that I'm going to cover in the next 2 days. But here's what's important. Debate all major issues. Some issues are fairly sort of obvious. Say, well, I can see the positive side of that right away. But some need discussion. Now here's what's valuable, to discuss some things with someone else. Debate back and forth. In Israel, one of the great forms of learning is debate. You walk into the classroom, wow, sounds like confusion, where they get a hold of an idea and one gets on one side and one takes one position, the other one takes the other position, and one says, this is it, and someone says, no, you're mistaken. Here's what you failed to read. So I said, well, I didn't know that. And then they advance their point of view and say, no, I think you're wrong here. You haven't done your research. How about this, this, and this? The person says, oh, you're right. I didn't do that research. And this verbal debate back and forth goes on in Israel. An Israeli part of learning is this debate. So here's what's important, is to debate the major life issues. In good health today, the great debate is on, which has given us advances we've never had before. So here's what you must be, though, in the debate. A good student. Open to learning. Defending and learning. That's what's important, not just to defend, but to defend and learn. Defend your point of view until it's sort of obvious that you've got to give some ground here because you haven't done your research. But this debating is important. We have to debate the health issues. One health book says, do this, you'll live forever. The second health book says, if you do that, you'll die young. So here's what we should do. Make the note, right? Be a student, not a follower. This is important advice. Not to be followers, but to be students. Be no one's disciple except the Lord's. You wind up in Waco, Texas. Be no one's disciple. But be a student. Someone says, well, these two books now have opposing views about health. Here's what you should do. Answer. Read both books and make up your own mind. Read both books and see if you can't figure out some way so that it applies to you, maybe drawing from both presentations. Not to follow one or the other, but to draw from one or the other, or maybe both, and develop a plan for you. Here's some of the best advice I've got for you. Make sure what you finally do is the product of your own conclusion. Make sure what you finally do in your financial pursuit, in your health pursuit, in building a good family pursuit, in developing your spirituality. Make sure what you finally do in pursuit of that is the product of your own conclusion, meaning you've processed differing points of view. You've processed what you've learned, matched with what someone is teaching you. Here's what's important. No one voice has all the answers. I certainly don't. I only have my point of view. I only have my perception. But my perception may be valuable. What if I say to you, did you ever look at this from over here? And you say no. So you walk over here where I am and you take a look and you say, wow, I never saw it from over here before. And maybe that look, from my point of view, is an interesting perception. It may reveal something that from over there, looking at it, you missed it. You missed my point of view. Not that my point of view is the point of view, but it is a point of view. Right? There's a difference between a point of view and the point of view. Here's the first skill that revolutionized my life: sales. Learning to present a product and service to the marketplace. I multiplied my income by 5 first year. Multiple skills. So now I got 2 skills: milking cows and making sales. But the skill revolutionized my life. I had never seen that perspective before, of how I could so dynamically affect my income by learning this extra skill. Amazing. So be eager to learn, argue later, but debate, right? Is it for me or isn't it for me? Do I have the temperament? You know, what is the deal? Should I start now and learn, or should I postpone it? What should I do? All of this stuff is very good. Turn it over in your mind till finally you decide.